Max is woken up by his mother for another day at school. Before he even gets up, the boy asks her when they're going to adopt a dog, but she replies that it won't happen, since her son can't even tidy his room on his own. When he arrives at school, the boy walks towards his desk, but halfway there he ends up being knocked down by Den, the slacker in his class. Far away, Alex and his co-worker Skyba are giving a presentation to demonstrate the progress of their latest creation. The prototype is nothing less than a nano-robot with extremely advanced artificial intelligence, capable of assisting humans in any kind of activity, which leads to the lab receiving more funding to develop the project. Hours later, a leader of a large criminal organization known as Myron receives the news of the nano-robot's invention. The henchman explains that the prototype could help them rob thousands of bank accounts and control the entire stock market with its hacking abilities. Realizing the level of power he will have with the nano-robot in his hands, Myron orders the men to call in Gecko, his main agent, to carry out this mission. At school, Max watches his classmate Sonia's play rehearsal, while drawing the scene in his notebook, as he has strong feelings for her. Just then, Den and his companions emerge from a hatch in the ground and ask the boy to approach them. However, in doing so, Max ends up being pulled under the stage, and noticing that the student was drawing his girlfriend, Den gets angry and says he's going to teach him a lesson. The trio then deliver a firecracker into the boy's hands and flee to the basement, where a small explosion occurs. Frightened, the teacher asks what's going on, and as he approaches the hatch, he sees Max coming out from underneath. Believing that the student was responsible for the explosion, the man sends him to the principal's office, and at the same time, Sonia finds the drawing that Den crumpled up. Meanwhile, at home, Max receives yet another lecture from his mother for not having cleaned his room, but as soon as the woman leaves, he gets up and sneaks out of the house. Nearby, Gecko sets off in the direction of the laboratory building, and after using his tools to scale the building and cut through the glass of one of the windows, he manages to successfully break in. Soon after, the young man sneaks along the ceiling like a real spy, and to get past the security lasers, he uses his nameplate, reflecting the beams against the surveillance cameras. With the way cleared, Gecko quietly approaches the compartment where the nano-robots are kept, and as soon as he inserts his decoder into the pedestal, he is surprised by one of the guards. Despite this, the young man manages to hide quickly, but at that moment, the device opens and the noise attracts the security guard's attention. Wasting no time, Gecko rushes to knock out the guard, but he can't stop the alarm from being triggered. The criminal then grabs the cylinder of the nano-robots and runs through the building, evading the guards. At the same time, Max arrives at the place where he hangs out at night and starts graffitiing the walls while listening to his favorite music. In the neighborhood streets, while trying to get away from security, Gecko decides to run to a bridge, but he ends up being surrounded. However, the man maneuvers quickly to free himself and stuns the guard with one of his flashlights. Thanks to this, Gecko manages to confront the pair of security guards, but after receiving a push, he ends up knocking the cylinder of nano-robots off the bridge. A few meters below, Max finds the object lying on the ground, and believing it to be a spray can, he becomes curious, as he has never seen one of this type before. In a few seconds, the criminal manages to knock out all the security guards around him and uses his tactical equipment to escape through the pipes without being seen. Curious to find out how the spray works, the boy begins to use the cylinder on one of the walls, and is impressed to note that the device is capable of creating complex art without any effort. The problem is that the nano-robots quickly run out and Max throws the cylinder away. Gecko appears on the scene, and after retrieving the cylinder, the man compliments the boy's graffiti. Then, a few seconds after Max leaves, the dog from the cartoon appears to come to life and jumps out of the wall. This causes all the nano-robots to transform the graffiti into a real technological dog. Far away, Gecko finds Myron and gives the cylinder to his boss, who is confused to see that none of the nano-robots are there. Meanwhile, Max returns home on foot, being chased by the robotic dog, who ends up knocking over a garbage can by accident, and uses his power of invisibility to avoid being seen. Believing that he may be being followed by a criminal, the boy decides to flee in desperation. Sometime later, the police investigators arrive at the laboratory, and Alex walks around the place trying to understand how the robbery was carried out. When she meets up with her colleague again, Skyba says that all the guards tried to chase the criminal, but were knocked out. Alex is furious and says that she knows her nano-robots better than anyone, so she'll find them on her own. In the morning, Gecko returns to the graffiti area to look for the boy he found the night before, and during his investigation, the man notices that Max's drawing is no longer there. On another school day, Max heads towards the school, being chased by the nano-robot dog, who watches him from afar. Just then, Den and the other pupils appear, and after throwing all the boys' materials on the floor, they leave. Annoyed, Max starts to pick up his things from the floor, when he notices that his case has started to float and is thrown at Den's head. Annoyed, the students return to the boy and try to attack him, but at that moment, his backpack seems to come to life and helps him move to dodge the attacks. Thanks to this, Max manages to perform several evasive maneuvers, and soon after, the backpack comes off his back, allowing him to start fighting each of the students, using advanced combat techniques. Now that he can get his revenge on the group, the student retrieves his backpack and leaves, being watched by Sonia, who is impressed by the whole thing. In her lab, Alex finds some camera recordings and says she should hire the young man as her security consultant, as the young man has great combat skills. Soon after, the woman prepares her pulse neutralizer, which emits electromagnetic waves capable of temporarily deactivating her nano-robots and thus recovering them. Far away, Max walks into a bookstore and starts looking at the products on the shelves, without even realizing that he is being chased by the dog. Realizing that he doesn't have enough money to buy anything, the boy becomes sad, at which point the store owner starts asking him if he's going to pay for the products he's picking up. However, before the man can approach, one of the packets of balls is opened by the invisible dog, causing the shopkeeper to be knocked to the ground. Soon afterwards, the man loses his pants and is forced to crouch down to put them back on, allowing Max to escape the scene. With all the chaos, Alex receives an alert about nano-robot activity taking place in the area, and sets off to try and find her invention. The woman then goes to the store where the boy was, and asks the owner to access the recordings from the security cameras. However, upon discovering that Alex is not part of any investigative agency, the owner refuses, and the scientist decides to use her technological bracelet to steal the archives of the recordings. Minutes later, Max returns to the area where he usually does his graffiti, and notices that the drawing of the dog he had done the night before has disappeared. Suddenly, the boy is surprised by the robotic dog, who starts talking to him normally. Frightened, Max falls to the ground, and after scanning him, the nano dog notices that the youngster's adrenaline levels are high. Trying to calm the boy down, the robot tells him to do a breathing exercise, but the boy is still scared and tries to run away. When he gets home, Max lies down on his bed to think about what has happened, and is surprised by the dog, which reveals that it is a set of microscopic nano-robots, capable of doing whatever its creator wants. Confused, the boy wonders why the robotic dog considers him its creator, and it replies that it was generated after the young man used the cylinder as spray paint for his graffiti. Max then realizes that the little dog was responsible for his victory against the students who tried to attack him, and scolds him for doing so, since from now on, Den will be even more furious with him. Despite this, Max keeps his cool and sits down at his computer, where he learns that the city will be holding a big drawing competition, where the winner will receive a place on a renowned illustration course. Believing that he will have no chance of winning such a competition, the boy is disappointed and decides that he won't even take part in the contest. At dusk, Alex is watching the recordings from the security cameras in her vehicle, when she receives yet another alert about the activities of her nano-robots. Meanwhile, the robotic dog analyzes all of Max's drawings and decides to register them on the competition website along with an entry on behalf of his owner. The next day, Gecko goes to the graffiti area again, and starts asking everyone in the area about the boy. However, none of the youngsters seem to have spotted Max, and the young man begins to lose hope of finding him. At home, the boy talks to his new technological dog, who reveals that he can change his appearance to disguise himself. Excited by his robotic pet's abilities, Max decides to go for a walk in the park with his new friend, but he tells him that the animal must remain silent so that no one finds out that he can talk. On hearing this, the dog creates a wireless headset and gives it to his owner, allowing them to communicate without being noticed. Just then, Alex arrives at the park and starts recording a video of the dog. While walking around the park together, the pair come across Sonia, who starts stroking the animal, asking what the name of her friend's pet is. Max quickly replies that that's Foxter, his pet dog, and during the conversation, the girl is called over by her friends. Sonia then reveals that they are going to the arts festival, and after saying goodbye to the pair, she leaves. Noticing the change in the boy's vital signs, Foxter asks if Max is infatuated with that girl, and says that he should talk to her. However, the boy explains that he can't do that, as Sonia is already in a relationship with Den, the slacker student his dog had confronted earlier. Taking advantage of the pair's distraction, Alex approaches with her vehicle, and while listening to the conversation with her tracking devices, she prepares to fire with her gun, so that she can neutralize the nano-robots. But before she can do so, the woman hears Foxter revealing that he has an idea, and instead of capturing him, she decides to report the discovery on her recorder. This makes her realize that the best option is to observe the pair, so that she can analyze the evolution of the nano-robots. Meanwhile, despite desperately searching for Max, Gecko is unable to find him and continues to come under increasing pressure from Myron. Later, Foxter convinces Max to go to the big arts festival, but what the pair don't realize is that they are still being watched by Alex, who stalks them while analyzing their nano-robots' every move. While walking through the event, Foxter spots Sonia in a crowd of people, and Max notices that Den is also there taking part in a dance battle. When he sees the boy winning the competition and being congratulated by Sonia, Max is saddened and says he wants to leave. However, Foxter stops him, and after analyzing the situation for some time, he figures out what they can do to get the girl's attention and improve his owner's reputation. So the pair walk to a large warehouse, and using his advanced technologies, Foxter alters all of Max's clothes, as well as enhancing his body with nano-robots. With his new look, the boy runs up to a giant wall, and starts walking on it freely, while using some cans of paint to create a huge artwork, attracting people's attention. Now that everyone is watching his performance, Max finishes his work in style, at which point Sonia realizes that her friend made the illustration in her honor. Sometime later, Gecko arrives at the festival, and when he sees Den, he shows him Max's signature on his notepad, asking about his whereabouts. Wanting revenge for the young man stealing his popularity, Den records various information about the boy on the criminal's cell phone, and asks him to tell him when he meets him that it was sent by Den. Realizing the boy's evil intentions, Gecko remains silent and sets off to find his target. After talking to her friend for a few minutes, Sonia says she has to go, but before she leaves, she shows him the drawing she found in the theater, asking if Max did it. Despite his shyness, the boy says yes and is hugged by his friend. Later, Max returns home and asks for the robotic dog to be made invisible, as his mother doesn't allow him to have a pet. What he doesn't realize is that they are being watched by Alex and Gecko, and the boy notices that Foxter is able to turn invisible. As Max enters his room, he hears his parents arguing and learns that they will soon have to move to another city. The boy is furious, saying that if they want to leave, they should go alone, and that he won't stay in that house any longer. Trying to calm his son down, the man starts chasing Max, who runs out of the house. While watching the chase, Alex sees Gecko following the boy, at which point the criminal finds remnants of the nano-robots left behind by Foxter. Soon after, Max crosses the street while running away from his parents, but before he can catch up, the man ends up being hit by a car, leaving the boy's mother terrified. When he realizes what has just happened, the student panics and sees his mother screaming for help in the middle of the street. At that moment, Alex sees Foxter watching the situation and is confused, because she knows that the robotic dog could have prevented that accident. Sometime later, Gecko meets up with Myron again, and hands over the remnants he found earlier, making the man excited, because now they can try to replicate the nano-robots in large quantities. At the same time, Max and his mother are waiting in the hospital corridors, where they receive the news that his father will have to spend a few days in hospital before he can be discharged. Outside, the boy is reunited with Foxter, and while they are being watched by Alex, he questions why the technological dog didn't prevent his father from being hit earlier. The robot then replies that he was only following his master, who was trying to get away from his family, so he concluded that he didn't need to interfere in that accident. On hearing this, Max becomes even more furious, saying that he no longer wants to be at Foxter's side, and with no answer to what he has just heard, the robotic dog turns invisible again. Far away, in his office, Myron pressures the scientist he hired to replicate the nano-robots, and soon after he receives a visit from Gecko and orders the boy to bring Max to him. Trying to calm down his boss, the criminal claims that the boy doesn't know about the dog's powers, but Myron doesn't care and orders him to follow his orders. Gecko then leaves the place disappointed at what he's going to have to do, and to make sure he does what he's told, the boss orders his assistant Igor to follow him. At the hospital, Max receives the news that his father has woken up and goes to talk to him. So that they can calm things down, the couple reveal that they will no longer be moving out, and the man says that he made a mistake by not talking to his son before they made that decision. A few minutes later, Foxter is waiting for Max outside, and begins to reminisce about the happy times he spent with his friend. At this point, the boy returns to his dog, and Alex is happy to see that he has come to reconcile with his faithful companion. After explaining the reasons why he was trying to get away from his parents, Max says that Foxter should always try to save human lives, as this is more important than anything else. At the end of the conversation, the pair see Sonia leaving the building, and the boy runs to talk to his friend, who is happy to hear that Max's father is all right. When asked about Den's whereabouts, The girl says that they were never really boyfriend and girlfriend and that it was just a lie made up by the boy. Just then, the pair come across a man parking his car right in front of the hospital, and Max warns him that stopping there is forbidden. However, the driver doesn't listen to the boy, and so that they can impress Sonia, Foxter has an idea. Surreptitiously, the robotic dog infiltrates the interior of the vehicle, and after dropping one of his eavesdroppers into Max's ear, he asks his owner to get into the car with his friend. Although reluctant, the boy decides to follow Foxter's plan and leaves the parking lot in the sports car, being pursued by Gecko and Igor. Noticing the strange movements of these men, Alex decides to follow them, beginning a silent chase through the city. During the ride, the pair pass a puddle of water, and after soaking some young people on the sidewalk, they realize that these were none other than Den and his friends. With that, the students continue their journey in the vehicle, while Gecko and Igor fight during the chase, leaving Alex completely confused. When she analyzes the license plate, she discovers that Igor is a criminal wanted by Interpol, and decides to use her pulse gun to attack him before he hurts someone. However, Alex ends up misfiring the device, causing the magnetic pulse to hit everyone in front of her. As a result, Gecko is thrown away and Max and Sonia end up crashing on the side of the road. Outraged, the boy starts shouting at Foxter, frightening Sonia and making her get out of the vehicle. Soon afterwards, Igor appears, and posing as a policeman, he captures the pair, and Alex rushes to help Foxter, who is extremely weak after being hit on the wrist. After discovering that the woman is his inventor, the robotic dog says that they need to rescue Max, and explains that they can trace the nano-robots on the wire he gave the boy. Upon hearing this, Gecko decides to set off on his own, and in his hideout Myron questions the pair about Foxter's whereabouts. Trying to delay them, the boy claims that the robot is in hospital, and after obtaining the information, Igor traps the pair and confiscates the boy's bug. Thanks to this, the criminal is able to hear the plans of Alex and Foxter, who have followed the location of the device. The robot dog then follows Gecko inside Myron's hideout, without even realizing that outside, the woman has just been captured by Igor. When they arrive at the place where the pair are being held, Gecko spots Foxter trying to sneak in to rescue them, but at that moment Igor appears and orders the security guards to capture the animal. However, Foxter manages to fight off the men using the objects around the gym, and angered by the humiliating scene, the criminal decides to help them. Despite this, the robot dog manages to easily defeat the trio, and after luring them to the cell, he frees Max and Sonia, at the same time as Alex closes the door to arrest the bandits. Even after managing to escape from the criminals, the group ends up being intercepted by Myron, who uses a tube to capture Foxter and surrender the fugitives. Soon after, the man orders Alex to reprogram the robotic dog so that it only obeys his orders, and threatens to throw Sonia off the building if she refuses to cooperate. With no choice, the woman accepts the deal, and as they are taken to the laboratory, she asks Gecko to help them resolve the situation. The young man says he has a plan, and when they arrive Alex asks what Myron wants to do with the nano-robots. In order to obtain evidence against the criminal, Gecko records his answer on his cell phone, and then the scientist says that they need to remove the tube so that she can access Foxter's system. However, as soon as the object is removed, Gecko uses a fire extinguisher to hit the main panel, destroying part of the laboratory and allowing Foxter to use his super speed. Thanks to this, the little dog manages to trap the criminals, after which he approaches Max. When he remembers that his owner asked him to make his own decisions, he says that he doesn't want to work alongside Myron, because that's not what he was created for. So Foxter asks Max to order him to disintegrate, and to comfort him, he says that they will always be together. Despite being devastated, the boy gives the order, causing Foxter to disintegrate into thousands of nano-robots. Now that they are free, Myron knocks out Gecko with one punch, and after ordering Igor to call a helicopter, he leaves for the terrace taking Sonia prisoner. In a rage, Max rushes to stop the criminal, but he is easily knocked down, allowing the man to escape into the aircraft. Before leaving the building, Myron throws Sonia away, and in front of the scene, all the nano-robots join Max's body, who hears Foxter's voice encouraging him to fight. The boy then runs up to the criminal, who is hit by a powerful kick. Soon after, Max hits Myron with several powerful attacks, but he ends up getting distracted by Sonia's screams, causing him to be hit by a powerful punch. Despite this, the boy doesn't give up, and after compromising his opponent's vision, he maneuvers to knock him to the ground. In a rage, Myron tries to throw a rock at his target, but Max manages to dodge it and hits him with a powerful kick to the face. Finally, the boy knocks out his opponent with a big punch, and with the threat neutralized, he sets off to rescue Sonia, who is saved at the last second. With the situation under control and Myron captured, Alex stores the nano-robots back in the cylinder. After all the chaos, Alex decides to invite Gecko to work in her lab, saying that she needs someone to work as a security supervisor. Later at home, Max receives a letter revealing that he was the winner of the drawing competition and he is extremely happy. To make his son even happier, the boy's parents give him a new pet puppy, and in honor of his great friend, Max decides to name him Foxter. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps.